Network Entertainment.
Kasi nga, people feel like Jacob Fatu already overshadowed Solo Sikoa in the 4 minutes of airtime that he had on SmackDown. That's why we are having this conversation. We were having this fear, this concern, even before he debuted. But now that he made his debut, ngayon pa lang, in the little time that he already appeared on SmackDown, we're already talking about this because that's how good he is and that's how much he outshined Solo during his debut.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Let me talk to him.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Adam!
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Run!
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles.
Hey, this is the Cosmic Cactus, Paul London.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov. This is Czar, the NXT champion, and you're listening to...
And you're listening to...
And you're listening...
And you are listening...
And you're listening
to the Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
To the Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
Listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Emile Nate, Chino Liao, and Rowen A.S.H on a semi-full house of the podcast on a Monday, mind you, where we're doing our weekend reactions. Chino, it's been a while since we've had you on the pod. Ikaw din, Rowen. It's been a while since you've done one of these Monday night recordings, so great to have you both here. Let's start with Chino. What have you been up to over the last few weeks?
Madami. Shout out to De La Salle University for having Comedy Manila for the second straight year sa kanilang Leap University Week event. United in Laughter 2 happened last Thursday, kaya wala ako sa pod nun kasi nasa Taft ako nun. So thank you to everybody, all the Lasallians that came out and laughed with all of Comedy Manila nung gabing yun. And then just a bunch of... just a
pagka-pronounce mo, Lasallians.
Siyempre, kasi Lasallian din ako eh. So shout out to everybody who came out, and siyempre, tayo would just be grinding, doing all sorts of comedy. And saka ako na ipopromote yan pag malapit-lapit na yung dates. But yeah, just out here working, man, getting that work.
All right. Speaking of work, Rowan's been hard at work trying to be a DMD. How are you able to keep your head above water the last few weeks, Rowan?
Well, for the past few weeks, I've been watching wrestling just to keep myself entertained. Tsaka, to escape reality. Since bakasyon naman, my sleeping schedule has been fucked up. Sira na yung body clock ko. But it's because I watch wrestling a lot. Pero nagsuffer din ako kasi it gave me a bad headache. So yeah, pagka bakasyon, matulog kayo na maayos sa tamang sleeping schedule nyo.
And now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Speaking of being fucked up, you know who's fucked up? Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and Cody Rhodes, because a Samoan werewolf has entered the chat. Jacob Fatu made his WWE debut over the weekend on SmackDown as part of the new Bloodline. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is one of the worst kept secrets in wrestling today kasi ang tagal na binalita, diba? WrestleMania weekend pang binalita na ito na, magpaparamdam na si Jacob Fatu. He left MLW, stopped showing up there. A lot of mentions to Jacob Fatu, references to him. And then now it seems like Solo Sikoa is gathering all of the members of the Samoan Dynasty and the Samoan Dynasty at Jace who were not in WWE prior to WrestleMania 40. So, Emile, what do you think about this?
I think especially the Jacob Fatu edition, I think this puts the new Bloodline over the top. I think I tweeted something about this over the weekend na before SmackDown, medyo lukewarm pa ako sa new Bloodline eh. But I know they're biding their time. I know they're slow burning the hell out of this. But that was the kick in the butt that they need. Jacob Fatu is the guy here for the new Bloodline. I'm sorry, Solo. He acts like he is the head of the table, but I don't know. After SmackDown, all the attention, all the spotlight, all the headlines are all about Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, he looks much leaner than when he was last seen on MLW. Chino, who do you think is next here? Meron pa magdadagdag or ito na yung final lineup? Final.pdf.
It's kind of hard for me to imagine kung sino pa yung kulang sa roster nila as of the moment. I'm not really updated with the... Siguro yung anak ni Umaga, diba? I don't know how much mileage he actually has. Zilla Fatu. Exactly. Thank you, Rowen. I don't know how much mileage he actually has on him because from what I understand, he only started wrestling this year, if I'm not mistaken. So baka medyo hilaw pa siya, but maybe that's what NXT is for. If anything, nagulat din ako that they pulled the trigger on Jacob this soon. Kasi I would have expected him to show up on NXT at least and not on the main roster right away in the manner that he did, in the intensity that he showed up with, diba? So it's nice that they were actually still able to surprise me, even given the fact na alam na natin na nasa WWE na siya. So it's good to see him rejoin his brothers, diba? And for the WWE to solidify this dynasty in the form of the bloodline.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Jacob Fatu is a first cousin of the Usos because Rikishi's twin brother is Tonga Kid, who is the father of Jacob Fatu. So he's directly a part of this Samoan dynasty na pinag-uusapan natin. The dude already has a shirt. He got to keep his name along with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Rowan, what does this tell you about this new bloodline?
Well, I've been a fan of Solo and this new bloodline storyline so far. Like, especially like right after WrestleMania, I know there's gonna be something special na, okay, so Roman is out, there has to be someone who should rule this. And automatic, si Solo yun. He's like the de facto leader right now, di ba? Pero here's something that I fear. Okay, so Solo would look inferior beside Jacob Fatu. Because if you put them next to each other, mas mukhang sidekick si Solo and or rather mukhang isa sa henchman si Solo instead of Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I kind of get what Rowan is trying to say here. Kasi on one hand, Solo is supposed to be the respected leader of the bloodline. Pero if you line all of the active members of the bloodline now up, parang siya yung pinaka baby-faced eh.
Yeah.
Siya yung hindi mukhang grizzled.
So yeah, continuing from where I left off, di ba, parang mukhang mas superior pa si Jacob Fatu, especially with his past accomplishment. He was a former MLW World Champion. And di ba, there was an argument on the pod like past episodes ago na like Emile argues this na parang what ano yung right ni Solo to call the shots na siya na yung leader bigla. Di ba? Parang I thought that was weird too, pero I was fine with it. Pero if we're gonna apply that argument, mas parang superior tuloy si Jacob Fatu because he's a former MLW World Champion. Now I don't know if WWE would count that accolade to make him like a second type of leader, or not really second type of leader, basta parang second ranking on who's the best ranking bloodline member in the 2.0.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up, Rowan, kasi Jacob Fatu is more experienced than Solo Sikoa, diba? They're cousins as well, kasi Solo is the brother of the Usos, diba? So they are first cousins. Jacob Fatu is, I believe, just a year older than Solo, pero yun nga, mas experienced kasi he got into wrestling right after his stint in jail when he was 18, and he was charged with robbery. So, ayun, a very interesting situation here with Jacob Fatu. Pinag-usapan din ng mga tao outside the ring. Paano yan? If there are PLEs outside the country, di ba merong issue yung mga may criminal records in the past. Hindi sila nakaka-travel, so that might hamper Jacob Fatu. I don't know why people are thinking that far ahead when Jacob Fatu just debuted. I don't know what you guys think about this. Kasi parang, why are we projecting so far ahead when this guy just made his presence felt this past weekend?
Kasi nga, people feel like Jacob Fatu already overshadowed Solo Sikoa in the 4 minutes of airtime that he had on SmackDown. That's why we are having this conversation. We were having this fear, this concern, even before he debuted. But now that he made his debut, ngayon pa lang, in the little time that he appeared on SmackDown, we're already talking about this because that's how good he is and that's how much he outshined Solo during his debut.
Emile,
I don't blame him.
what's your favorite Jacob Fatu match? Since you're
Wala,
such a Jacob Fatu fan.
No, I'm just saying, that was the first time I saw
Was
Jacob
it
Fatu.
Hammerstone 1 or Hammerstone 2?
I admit that was the first time na nakita ko siya, but immediately he has it. There's sometimes you just can't explain things, but when I saw him, his presence was there, and he had that charisma. He had everything that Solo does not, in my opinion. That's why again we're having this conversation and we're having this debate between Solo or Jacob as the leader of the bloodline weeks from now, even months from now.
Okay, I think kidding aside, I think this would still also be a good jumping off point sa story ng bloodline yung internal struggle nila that they desperately need to make them interesting. Diba? The reason we were all watching the bloodline for 3.5, 4 years was because play up nila yung Usos and their role as active members of the bloodline, diba? Is Jimmy with them? Is Jay with them? Who's gonna turn on who? Etc. And yun yung isa sa mga linchpins ng bloodline pre-Roman Reigns, pre-Solo Sikoa, diba? Now that they're there and now that they're this super faction of Pacific Islanders, parang hindi na siya masyadong interesting for me because he's just like calling in the family at this point. Diba, tinatawag na lang niya lahat ng pinsan niya, hey, come on over, cause diba, let's do this thing, right? So I would like to see them, all 4 of them or whoever else is joining the party, to start the question Solo na parang, hey, young buck, bakit ikaw yung in charge dito? Diba? Bakit, why do you get to make the calls now? Diba? Mas tenured kaming tatlo sa'yo. Why is this the deal? So, it's just an idea down the road, but it's also still a thing that needs to be addressed as well.
Sige, one last note here. Rowen, may bagong upwards pa ba na magpapakita for the bloodline?
I mean, pwede. Konti. Like, there's a rumor na Hikuleo might be the next one. Zilla Fatu definitely is hilaw pa, like Chino mentioned. I don't know if Sean Maluta is qualified enough to be in the bloodline stable. Pero
are you going to stop Sean Maluta from being part of the group?
No, I mean, he has a great spot pick, that's for sure.
Are you literally going to say Sean Maluta patingin ng birth certificate? Is that where you're going in this, Roy?
No, di naman. But yun nga, it's a wait and see moment for me.
Okay, all right. Moving on with SmackDown, all throughout the show, nakita natin there were security detail present everywhere. Obviously, a reference to the Wyatt Sicks and their brutal attack to end Monday Night Raw. And I'm going to start with you, Chino, because I know you love everything related to Bray Wyatt. And pinag-usapan namin to nung live stream na how do you address an attack like that? Na it looked like a crime scene, diba? It looked like, if not a gory assault, then outright murder na yun yung nangyari. So does the presence of the security detail satisfy you as a follow-up to what happened on Raw?
I think no. I think I like how they addressed it, at least, diba? Na parang hindi lang nila hinayaan na, okay, that's a Raw thing. We're not gonna touch that, right? So at least there's the fact that they acknowledged it on SmackDown. Wala namang nangyaring hijinks nung SmackDown. So at least the fact that they acknowledge it kind of sort of reinforces the presence of the Wyatt Sicks. Even though it was a weak acknowledgement, parang a head nod, if anything else. So I don't know if it's enough of an acknowledgement, but I also don't know if SmackDown needed another appearance from the new faction, especially since I think they're sticking them on Raw and making them a permanent fixture there. So baka yun lang din yung kailangan nilang gawin at this point.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Chino. They pretty much did what they had to do. Kasi may banta of an attack from the Wyatt. So all they could do at that point, kasi di rin nila alam na kung atake ba sila or hindi. So saying that we're adding security detail in the venue tonight because of events. At least they recognized it. Diba? They recognized the SmackDown commentators recognized na, there is a threat. So, but we're not exactly sure if that thing yung threat. But all we can do at this point is to add more security detail. That's what they did. They didn't really need to do much. Kung may
but Triple H didn't appear. Sabi ni Ro, Triple H had to say something and really address the situation. Triple H wasn't there. Yung pinaka-authority figure na nandun was Nick Aldis, and he was conducting business as usual.
Yeah, you can say that. They could have done more, but they did the bare minimum, and I think that's enough. I think mas aabangan talaga natin yung mangyayari bukas, because Raw is the show where this happened, and the Wyatts had they're gonna be on Raw moving forward, I think. So Raw is the show na aabangan yung developments itong Wyatt Sicks thing.
All right, Rowan, how about you? Were you satisfied with this form of addressing the Wyatt Sicks?
Naman. It's fine to me na there's security guards at ringside. They addressed na what happened from Raw could also happen on SmackDown, kaya nag-enforce sila talaga, naging maingat sila. Though I hope they sold it more na medyo natatakot sila while addressing it. Or any people backstage could be like watching their backs kasi anytime the Wyatt Sicks might come out. Pero I mean, I think it's fine lang din na they don't have to overdo it, like Emile said. Kaya parang it's like what Paul London said na less is more. Kaya it's fine na they don't do much, pero what they did is enough.
Look at Rowan referencing the Paul London interview we did last year. Balik ako sa'yo, Chino. All three of you seem to think na okay na yung security detail, that's enough to address the situation. But putting on your Wyatt family fan hat on, ano magagawa ng mga secu pag umatake yung Wyatt Sicks?
Wala. I mean, let's be real. Let's be wrestling fans here. Have security ever done anything pag may umaatake? Di ba binabalibag lang din sila? Di ba? Multiple times.
Therefore I ask, bakit satisfied na kayo?
So wala talaga.
Bakit satisfied kayo?
Wala talaga. No, I didn't say I was satisfied. I said that this was just SmackDown's way of acknowledging it because it was a Raw thing. Diba? Hindi naman nila pwede din i-acknowledge on a different show since they're trying to stick to the show scripts now. Hindi naman nila pwede gawin yun kasi parang inagaw nila yung storyline ng Raw. I think if anything, tama si Emile, I think who said it, na it's a wait-and-see game on Monday Night Raw. Mas interesting yung mangyayari bukas because then we'll find out if real actual murder happened, diba? Or they just brutalized Chad Gable there and company. So malay natin, diba? But I think it's really more of a Raw thing than anything else.
Yeah, we know Chad Gable's active. He's cleared for action, sabi nila, diba? Chad Gable even tweeted, he was very cheeky about it. Yes, I'm coming back from the dead. So that's happening. So wait and see tayo. Again, by the time you're hearing this, Raw will have already aired and magtutunog gago tayong lahat. But that's what we do on the pod. We speculate and we some of our takes age like wine and others age like milk. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk feud, as well as Brooks Jensen and Jeff Jarrett's presence in the Owen Hart Cup. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts right here on the Pod Network.
Mga Immortal, listen to the Underpaid Podcast with me, Stanley Chi, wherein we talk about work-related topics in a light manner na parang nagchichismisan lang tayo or nagkukwentuhan. Listen for free on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or kung saan ka man nakikinig ng podcast. Kita-kits!
Guess who's back? Back again, Drew McIntyre on SmackDown just days after he said na he was quitting WWE. And sobrang ganda nung shot, diba? There was a backstage vignette featuring DIY and Grayson Waller. And then, nag-clear out sila kasi yung parang corrugated steel gate thing umangat.
The door, right?
And then, it revealed Drew McIntyre carrying a lifeless and bloodied CM Punk. Rowan, what do you think about Drew being back so soon?
Well, I thought it's weird, pero I think it's also the right time kasi when is Drew gonna do it? Kung kasi, well, Punk gave out his details like after the Clash at the Castle press con, diba? During that press con, sinabi na, SmackDown is gonna be at Chicago, so I'll be there. So it's the perfect time for Drew to come out and get back and get even with him.
Chino, ikaw, sobrang bilis eh, di ba? Na parang kakakwit lang ni Drew.
Yeah.
You would think na they're gonna stretch this out.
I was actually quite surprised. Sorry, I was actually quite surprised to see him exact his revenge so soon after Clash of the Castle. Kasi nga, di ba, we all thought he was gone. So it added more of an impact to this ongoing feud that he has with Punk. And ang ganda lang din ng visual na fireman scary ni si CM Punk from the outside all the way to the ramp, essentially. So ang layo din nun, ah. So it really goes to show how committed they are to making Drew like an absolute beast of a heel. Hindi lang siya mareklamong tao na, CM Punk screwed me. Sinaway ako ng sistema. He actually has teeth and he can actually do damage. And I think this is what they wanted to establish here dito sa ginawa niya kay CM Punk. So, good job on them. Kasi nga, even the visual is very jarring, diba? Binuhat niya ng ganun si CM Punk and just drops him, tapos nakipag-away pa siya kay Aldis. Just good stuff, really. Good stuff.
Emile, let me ask you this. Kasi kakakwit lang ni Drew, diba? How did he get access to backstage? And why is he still being plugged for the Fanatics Fan Fest?
Yun nga, the Fanatics plug was weird. But to me, ito yung pag-iisip ko when I watched the episode. Technically, he's not back. He's an outsider who attacked CM Punk. You know, and kinonfronta nga siya ni Nick Aldis, diba? Because technically, he quit. So, di naman ibig sabihin na he did the attack and he attacked CM Punk. Doesn't mean he's back. Maybe he's still gonna be away in the next few weeks to sell the angle that he has quit. But like you mentioned, Stan, they're still plugging him for events, right? So it's just weird to me. If they're gonna sell the angle, go all the way. Like don't mention him, don't promote him, don't do all this stuff. Kasi nakakasira yun sa mystique ng angle. Nakaano na nga medyo nakasira na nga the fact that almost everyone knows na Drew has resigned with WWE all those months ago. So that in itself has already kind of ruined the angle. But still, they could have done a little bit more effort with Drew. But
hindi kasi busy yung security guard sa Wyatt Sicks. Yun na yun.
Again, in that segment, in that moment, my kayfabe thinking is that he's going to have a unsanctioned match between these two.
All right. Unsanctioned match, probably at SummerSlam, diba? Yun yung pinakamalaking TLE na paparating. Money in the Bank also big, but I think given they're waiting for Punk and his tricep injury to fully heal before they clear him, parang mas safe assumption na SummerSlam. I like that you said unsanctioned match, Emile, kasi yun din yung idea ko eh. Like a feud this hot, how violent it's gotten, how personal it's gotten, parang pang unsanctioned match siya. A la Triple H and Shawn Michaels back in 2002, diba? At that SummerSlam. So we'll see what happens. Let's go to NXT for a bit and talk about Brooks Jensen. So this past week, there was an Eddie Thorpe interview dun sa parking lot, and from the corner of the camera angle, kita na inaaresto si Brooks Jensen. And it's getting weird kasi now yung fiancé niya nagpost ng video asking if people have seen Ben Buchanan, which is his shoot name. Rowan, what do you think of all of this Brooks Jensen hullabaloo?
I was legit concerned kasi, okay, I missed that part in NXT during that interview. Di ko nga nakita, di ko siya napansin. Pero when I saw the tweet from his fiance, I was legit concerned. Like, what? Wait, anong nangyari? Tapos, then I figured out, this could be a work. This could be an angle. It's a way for him to be written off the storyline. That's the deal, diba? He's like, gonna be released. Diba? Correct me if I'm wrong. So
I'm not sure of that.
Okay, pero like it's either he will get re-signed or he will be written off, and that's the way siya pinapaalis na or That's like his goodbye. But I was like legit concerned talaga. Like, what the fuck was going on? Tapos, oh, okay. This could be a storyline.
Stan, I'm gonna add to what you said earlier. There was an incident as well in the episode of NXT where I think Wesley and Obafemi were having a promo, and there was some sort of a commotion in the background. Si Brooks Jensen pala yun, and security were handling him. Hindi siya nakita sa camera, but there was a frame there na hagip na okay, it was him, and there was also videos that has resurfaced on Twitter that same day na showing it was Brooks Jensen. That led to that sequence that you were saying, Stan, of him getting arrested outside. So this angle started a few weeks back, when Brooks Jensen parang nagwala siya doon sa announcer's table. And now, it's getting weird for me kasi may, especially in the last few days kasi may ano na siya like hinahaluan na nila ng parang real life heavy problems involving alcohol, because Jensen has been posting photos of him watching NXT, tas may hawak-hawak siya na bote, and I think in that video his fiance also alluded to some sort of him missing an independent booking because he was hammered. So if this is a work, then I don't know. It's getting to that weird territory for me. Now I'm starting to be legit concerned for the guy. Pero sa nalalaman ko from when the angle started until now, I still think it's a work. And he also posted something on Twitter about parang he's saying he stinks. Na it actually looks like he's gonna be released. But I think most of us know there's an endpoint to this angle, but right now we are still not sure what is the end game of this. Like, so confused pa ako as to what is the purpose of this angle for Brooks Jensen.
Want to know what the purpose is, guys?
What?
TNA. I feel like, in all seriousness, I feel like because he's taking bookings outside of NXT and acting all scorned that nagkakalat siya, he's gonna end up on TNA. They still have an active working relationship. Diba? We just saw Kaz and we just saw Joe Henry in the Battle Royale last week. Diba? So it's about time that WWE throws them a bone. Diba? And what better way than to utilize Brooks Jensen? Pakita siya doon ng ilang episodes. Diba? Tapos magpakita siya doon. And then do the work and then come back to NXT. Oh. Diba? It makes sense for me to see it that way. Kasi at least they don't have to completely write him out and for it to not make sense. At least ito, may way ka na to organically integrate him into an ongoing NXT or ongoing TNA rivalry.
Yeah, good that you actually pulled TNA out of the hat there, Chino. Kasi it's a great way to do something with the partnership that not everyone is expecting. I don't know if you guys, Rowen and Emile, expected that. Kasi ako hindi ko rin naisip na, baka this is Brooks Jensen's way of being written into TNA canon as a way to further the partnership, as Chino just mentioned.
Yeah, when the angle started, definitely. Yeah, I was thinking that, but in the past few days, when all these the incidents that I mentioned, it's getting to a weird territory na parang nawala na sa isip ko yung TNA. But good thing Chino brought that up. Like, maybe he's at the end of this, he's gonna appear on TNA.
We'll see. Okay. Last thing here for weekend reactions, punta naman tayo sa AEW and pinag-usapan natin nung bracketology natin for the Owen Hart Cup na, okay, Jeff Jarrett, medyo random, medyo surprise, but then we were able to point out, diba, na may connection siya to Owen Hart, and props to AEW for actually putting together a video package that they shared both on social media and aired on Collision this past weekend, where Jeff Jarrett opens up about yung closeness nila ni Owen Hart. A lot of people forget, I certainly did, kasi I was too young to have seen the tag team of Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart in WWF. They were tag team champions. They were tag team champions once upon a time. They were best friends, right? So with Owen Hart having passed away 25 years ago, it hits Jeff Jarrett different, and it makes his stakes more personal. And
God damn, it hits me different. That was 25 years ago.
Naabutan mo yun di ba?
Yes.
So yeah, I want Jeff Jarrett to win, because like I've just been waiting for a reason to root for Jeff Jarrett, and now that he's doing this alone without Jay Lethal, yes, I'm all in.
Yeah, definitely. I remember the tag team of Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. This was during his Blue Blazer era, which unfortunately was his last character sa WWE. But at that time, yung tag team talaga nila was just annoying and heelish, and they were playing up this gimmick of him being masked. I remember also the promo that Jarrett had to cut, and I just saw it again recently. Jeff Jarrett and Deborah had to cut a promo right after on the same Raw, right after Owen Hart had just fallen from the rigging that he fell from and ultimately ended his life. So to watch that again as an adult, it really sinks in. Kasi I was never an Owen Hart fan, but when a wrestler dies and you're a child and you see that, parang hindi ka makapaniwala, and as an adult, it really just starts to sink in a little bit more. Especially since you see all the wrestlers who have wrestled or worked with Owen Hart grow up and become older and talk fondly about Owen and how he was behind the scenes and how much of a funny guy he was, how much of a prankster he was, how loving he was, how much he teased Brett. So parang doon pa lang sa yung vignette din na pinakita ng AEW and the interviews that people have done over the years, doon pa lang makikita mo kung gaano ka-importante si Owen Hart sa industry ng wrestling. And for Jeff Jarrett to actually have this opportunity now, I mean, I've never been a Jarrett fan for many reasons, but for this one, I want Jarrett to win as well.
Yeah, I was yeah, I became emotional when I watched the vignette. Kasi nga, again, a lot of people did question why Jarrett was included in this, and then I'm happy that AEW at least responded with the vignette. Kahit di naman kailangan, kasi alam naman mostly ng tao yung relationship ni Jarrett and Owen. At least majority of wrestling fans. But I'm still glad that they did the vignette, and I don't expect Jarrett to win, but I want him to win. But at least have him go deep. Kasi I think I saw a tweet about this a few days ago. Na if anyone deserves to be in the Owen Hart Cup, it's Jeff Jarrett, because he's one of the closest people to Owen. And I'm glad that, kasi in the past few years hindi nila nasasali si Jarrett sa cup eh. But this is the first time, and again 25 years pa after his untimely passing. So I'm glad that TK actually thought of this, and I want him to go deep. Kahit finals or semi-finals lang, kasi people are gonna root for him now after that vignette.
I hope so. I really hope so. Rowan, this whole thing that we're talking about, like the death of Owen Hart, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart being a tag team, them being best friends, this predates your life, literally, diba? So how does that feel for you as a younger wrestling fan?
Well, actually, as a younger wrestling fan, I learned about Owen Hart's death agad when I got into the wrestling fandom. So, alam mo naman, pagka wrestling fan ka, you have to look up on YouTube, like what are about wrestling. And it's unfortunate na nalaman ko agad yung pagkamatay ni Owen Hart and how tragic it is. And I got to learn more about it, like, oh, best friends sila ni Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett have to win the IC title from Godfather instead of Owen, kasi Owen has already died. He was slated to win the title, pero Jeff had to win it for him as a nice touch, you know. Actually, from that on, alam ko na why Jeff Jarrett is in the Owen Hart Cup. It's because he's friends with Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett is in the tournament because he's friends with Owen Hart. And I wish it's always like this. I wish this was the case all the time, na parang people who are in the tournament should have like some close relationship with the person they're paying tribute to, or who has been a fan, who has been like a great supporter, friends, family, whatever. It's like like dito sa Philippines, diba? We had the Chili Willy Wrestling Cup, and the people who are in the tournament are the wrestlers who Chili Willy trained. So nandyan sila El Catiponero, God Killer David Ravena, and such.
I get that. I understand na you want there to be a personal stake. I just think na medyo unrealistic ask siya, Rowan. Kasi at some point, you're gonna run out of all of those people who fall under the qualifier that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Right?
But, lastly, like to Emile's point, people are now rooting on Jeff Jarrett despite they are confused now. Why is this guy in the tournament? And then now with the vignette that AEW has presented, I think people are now rooting for him. Pero I don't think he has to win. It's okay na kahit matalo na siya sa finals.
Mm-hmm. All right. So there, those are our weekend reactions. If you have anything to add or if you want to react to anything that we said over yung mga malalaking ganap in the world of wrestling from the weekend, you know where to find us. It is at Wrestling2XPod on TikTok and on Twitter. Individually, it is at EML_Meister, at Monday Night Rowan, at Chino Supersized, and at _Stan C. You can also tweet Ro at Ro is War. We got to get out of here, so thank you so much to Babyface producer Jasper and the rest of the Pod Network for all of the work that they do behind the scenes. And on behalf of Emile Nate, Rowen A.S.H, and Chino Liao, as well as Romoran, who can't be here tonight, my name is Stan C, saying thank you very much for checking out another episode of the Wrestling Podcast. Stay safe, stay dry, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast. Out. Bye-bye.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.